The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Ardor SEO.
Welcome to Icons of Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Patty Teal. And today's icon, you're going to really be impressed with. His name is Nathan Fitz. So let me tell you a little bit about him. Nathan is a fourth-generation native of Georgia's Blue Ridge with over 20 years of experience. He is recognized for sales volume and customer satisfaction. Here's just some of his accomplishments. He's Northeast Georgia's Board of Realtors' #1 agent. He was RE/MAX of Georgia's number one producing realtor. Maybe he still is. And he's been ranked as the top 10 agents in the U.S. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Whoa, you've had a lot of accomplishments, and I know those are just a few of them.
And I've been working a long time.
You've been working
I
at it
actually
a
been
long
in the
time.
business right at 25 years as of this year. So,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So how we like to start our show is to have you tell us a little bit about your background. When did you know you wanted to go into real estate? What was your trajectory? What was your path? Just tell us a little story about how you got to where you are today.
Well, I'm very unconventional as it is, and so my history is very unconventional as well. People are constantly asking me, how did you do this? How did you do that? What was your plan? You master plan this, and the truth is, I really haven't master planned a lot. It's like speeches. I don't prepare speeches. I have to do everything off the cuff, or I can't do it. So I did not plan to go into real estate. It was not even on my radar. I was a big sports player in high school, and I was going to go off and play basketball at college and, do that whole thing. And I ended up becoming a dad at 18 and raising twin boys on my own since they were 3, who are now 23 and back in the business. So my life shifted and changed very dramatically. But I did have, thankfully, a little bit of experience and history, because my dad was a big land developer. He developed a lot of the communities in North Georgia. And so my sister and I kind of grew up with the knowledge and experience of the land development and building and stuff. So he wasn't in real estate per se, but he was in the developing side of it. So obviously I needed to stay, close to home and to be able to have my parents to help me with the kids and stuff. So naturally, him being in that business, and I was working for a company called Sisson Company, which is a log home manufacturing company, through high school as a salesperson. So it was kind of just a natural marriage to go into real estate so I could help my dad and also still help them. And honestly, it just kind of developed from there. And at some point, you get so involved in a business that it's impossible to get out of. I mean, I owned my first real estate franchises, and I had probably 85 or 90 agents by the age of 21 that were working for me when I used to own all the Century 21s from essentially Atlanta through Young Harris or Hiawassee, Georgia. So I've just been so deep in it since then that I love what I do. I love the relationships that I've made, and it's stuck by me, and it's done our family well. My kids are in the business now. My sister's in the business now. My nephew's in the business now.
Wow.
So it's just become a whole family business.
Oh, that is wonderful.
It's
I'm trying to
interesting.
imagine, most people at 21, they're not too grown up. And the fact that you had, by that time, your kids would have been about 4 years old.
3 or 4. Never could I imagine it either, just so it happened quickly.
Yeah, and 85 to 90 agents working under you. Wow, that's just amazing.
It was
but
a lot.
You rose to the challenge.
Well, and you know what? Thankfully for the not necessarily challenge, but the experiences I had early in life, it probably made me be more motivated and more responsible. I probably wouldn't be where I am today had that not happened.
Right. Yeah, I understand. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the area that you work in. I don't know much about the Blue Ridge area. What cities are in it? What It must be beautiful. Just tell our listeners, in case they're like me and haven't been there, what it's like.
Okay. So, the Blue Ridge Mountains, it consists of, really through North Georgia, Carolinas, and up in Virginia. So Blue Ridge Mountains is kind of a general term, but I actually live in the city of Blue Ridge as well. And
Oh,
Blue Ridge is on the Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina line. We're like on 12 miles from the Tennessee line. So it's kind of this tri-state, and as an old way, but really for the last probably 15 years, it is a huge second home destination for Atlanta people from Knoxville, Chattanooga, and it's the closest mountains to Florida. So we have a huge South Florida following because people can fly into Atlanta or Chattanooga and be here within an hour and a half. So it's beautiful. It's very scenic. We got a lake. Well, we got several lake here, but here in Blue Ridge specifically, a huge recreation lake, very mountainous. It's cooler temperatures. It's breezy most of the time. The people are great. Where I again live, and I actually live in downtown Blue Ridge now. Blue Ridge is a very quaint town, not like many towns. When people come to Blue Ridge, they don't want to look anywhere else because they fall in love with the town so much because it's walkable. There's the Blue Ridge Scenic Railway, which is a passenger train that you can take a scenic tour along the river from there to McCaysville, which is the next town that's part of Fannin County, which essentially is Blue Ridge. And then for people who love the outdoors, the recreation is unlimited. I mean, we've got horseback riding and zipline canopy tours and whitewater rafting where they did the 96 Olympics and tubing. And it's got the #1 and #2 fly fishing waterways in the state of Georgia here. I mean, the Appalachian Trail starts here. So people who love hiking and mountain biking and all that, it's a huge outdoor recreation field.
oh my goodness. I want to go there. I might want to
Come
move
on,
there.
we'll have you. And the people are great too. I mean, honestly, there's so many people that are saying it would be a secondary home, and especially in the last couple of years, they've transitioned here full time since they can work from home. So like all my best friends from Atlanta, I don't even have to go to Atlanta to see them anymore. They've all moved up here pretty much full time. So I have a little tagline that says Blue Ridge is not just a zip code, it's a way of life. And as cheesy as that may sound, it really is true. It's a whole different lifestyle.
Wow. Well, my husband would probably love it too because he grew up in a small town, and now it's just we have a lot of traffic where I am. It's so busy, a little too busy.
It'll
for
be
my
back to
liking.
home if you come here.
Wow, how
Yeah,
nice.
it is a really cool town, and I never would have thought my hometown, the town I grew up in, I would never dream it would be, in the top 5 places in the U.S. to have a second home that has been named. And I mean, it's been in every
Wow.
publication, and I couldn't wait to get out of here when I was growing up.
Of
And
course,
it was
we're
a
all like
sleepy
that.
little
Yeah.
town. I know, so it's kind of cool because I can go all over the world, and I've been across the seas and somebody said something about Blue Ridge, and I said, "You're from Blue Ridge? What? We have a house there. We know people there. Like people know it everywhere you go." So it's kind of crazy.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Great for the
It
real
is. It's
estate
great.
business too.
I
So,
know.
yeah. So how much is your average home in the area? I'm sure it varies from area to area, but the Blue Ridge area where you are.
So Blue Ridge specific, our average price range right now is probably about $650,000, $700,000. Of course, since COVID, that number has jumped up, and before it was probably, I said, 500,000 on average. Of course, we got 2 different markets. We've got our second home market, which are the cabins, lodge style homes, and then we've got more traditional homes and homes that more primary people live in. So the average price point for each of those different markets would be different, but I would say right now, I would say probably 600,000-700,000 would be the average price point.
Right. Now, do you sell more to people that are buying a second home or to other people that are more the traditional home buyers and sellers?
I would say, well, again, COVID has changed that the last couple of years. Typically, it's been more secondary homes, vacation homes, vacation rental homes. I would say it used to be about 70% of that, and probably 30% like more primary relocation. But now I'd say it's probably about 50-50, if not more, 60 primary homes, people moving here, and 40% vacation secondary homes.
Oh, that is so interesting. Now, you said your family is there too. Did your kids stay in the area too?
So my kids are back in the area. So after high school, they both went off to college. One went to University of Georgia and then to Loyola Marymount in Marina Del Rey, California. And the other one went to University of North Georgia in Dahlonega, Georgia. And they both said they would not be in real estate. They would never get in real estate. They did not want to be in real estate or anything to do with it. Well, they're both back in real estate. So they're both back living here and they love it. They're both doing great at it. And again, my sister's a big agent up here in the business as well. And my nephew is, so we've got the whole family, which makes it interesting sometimes.
Yeah, well, those kids, you got to remember, never say never, right?
Exactly.
So you must just know every inch of the area, especially close by you. And I can tell you're just so friendly and warm. But what do you find are your biggest strengths as a realtor?
Well, probably what you just said, like being from here, knowing the people, knowing the history of the land. I mean, people laugh because we go in a subdivision and I can tell you every single person that lives in every single house almost in the whole subdivision. And they're like, how do you know this? I'm like, well, I sold most of them their houses. So, I can tell you who lived there before. So it's just really being here, being in the business. And, when roads are closed or, mudslides happen and people are, how do you know all these nooks and crannies? And I said, I grew up here. We had nothing else to do as a kid. But at 14, I was driving to school. My parents let me drive to school. So, we were out on these back roads and that's all we had to do when I was growing up. So it's just from being here. And then, I think people trust me a lot because I am from here and they know I know, the area, the people, and if something needs to get done, I can get to who it needs to go to get done. So I would say that's one of the biggest strengths is just being local because me and my sister are probably two of the very, very few only local agents in this area still.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you tell me a little bit about your team?
Yeah, so well, my team is actually I say we're small but mighty now. I have as I've been in the business longer and longer and getting a little older in life, I have decided bigger is not necessarily better. So every year I've actually downscaled my team a little bit. And there's only 12 of us now, 12 total, but we produce more now than we ever have. So with me and my assistants and the few buyers agents I have, I mean, we were up to 120 million last year, which was almost triple what it was just a couple of years ago. So I've learned to just be more efficient. And instead of taking the time having to manage other people, I can just go do the same stuff myself. And I'm a people's person, like I enjoy it. And so I've really just kind of taken the lead back of showing and selling and not just managing, which is what I'm best at. And what I found for so long is that I have a huge builder book and clientele. And so we represent pretty much most of the builders in the North Georgia area. My sister, one do. And so we just, we have those relationships with them.
Right.
And I lost my train. I was getting to a point of telling you something. I forgot what I was going to tell you. What was your question? And maybe it'll refresh my memory.
Well, you were talking about the builders and the relationship that you have with them.
Yeah, and so we do most of the builders doing the spec homes and custom houses. Is we kind of act as the liaison, helping the buyers pick out all their finishes. We're kind of built-in interior decorators for them. I tell the builders we're free interior decorators for them because we keep up with most of all the finishes and telling them at what phases they need to do what. So to me, that's the fun part. I'm a creative person, and I like to be involved in the mix every single day. And I know I was talking about management before, but I'm back in the everyday listing and selling, and my clients that have been loyal for 25 years are like, thank goodness you're going out with us because we feel like you passed us off before and stuff. And a lot of people are like family to me. I mean, they really are. So I've sold to them, their kids, and their I won't say their grandkids yet because make me feel really old, but it's just the whole family. So
well, you look very young to have even grown kids. So,
well, thank you.
Well, you are very young to have grown kids. You started young, yeah. So you sold 120 million, you and your team, last year. What's your goal for this year or coming up? Is it a little harder now? Do you think you'll be able to maintain or even grow it with the market changing?
You know what? That's actually a really good question. So probably. Even though the market is changing, and again, I've been through one downturn in the market already and been through that, so I kind of know what to expect.
Right.
So we were still slammed busy before when the market slowed down, but it was people who would come back and say, "Hey, Nathan, like, we couldn't afford Blue Ridge before. Like, the prices had gotten so expensive, and with the prices coming down, they were all coming back to buy. So we were still busy selling things. It was just at a different price point.
Right.
So I kind of expect that to happen again. We're already having people to call that have been inquiring, saying, I'm just going to wait and see what the market does. We're going to see if it cools down, if prices go down. Vacation rentals in this area are huge. It trending on Airbnb. I know Blue Ridge has been one of the top 3 or 4 markets, even in the U.S., for short-term rentals for probably a year and a half, 2 years. It and Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, Tennessee are huge areas. So a lot of people who are doing investing in rentals, have been looking in this area. And so I suspect we'll see a lot more of those buyers as well.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Some areas have really stiff regulations about, short-term rentals. Is your area like that, or do they give a lot of freedom to the owners?
Well, so it's interesting you say that. So I actually am not on the city council now, but I was on the city council. I was the police commissioner for the city of Blue Ridge, and I ran the water and the sewer department here in the city of Blue Ridge. And so one of the things when I was on council that came up was the short-term rental ban. And we do have a restriction in the city limits of Blue Ridge, but not within the CBD district, which is the downtown district that has some multifamily and stuff, against vacation rentals. For the record, I was the only council person who voted against it, because I said, in a town like this, you're hurting yourself by not allowing vacation rentals. And what I have experienced, because I've been in the business, is, people were scared that people were going to be partying next to and stuff. And I said, hey, listen, owners can have parties too. They can have friends over, and they can be just as loud as renters are. So I've never saw it being a problem, and there wasn't enough evidence proving that there had been that many issues in the area for me to see a ban. But again, it was voted in, but that's just within the city of Blue Ridge. The county as a whole, there's no restrictions. There have been some communities that have elected by the homeowners, the majority of the homeowners, not to allow rentals, but very few communities.
Well, that's great that you know all about that. And I think that's so important for use. And so many people are looking at it to be a rental. Maybe they use it for themselves, but rent it out part of the time to cover their expenses on it. So it's good you know the ins and outs of it.
Yep. And you know what you just said is exactly what's happening. Is people are able to use their vacation home essentially for free, and the money, what they're renting it out for, is paying all their expenses, the mortgage payment, and then they essentially have a free vacation home to come to, which is nice.
Wow. Well, it sounds like everything is going really great for you, your family. I just love to hear that. Are there any hindrances, anything that you find difficult?
Other than I'm getting old and can't remember stuff like I used to, and I'm
Please
just
don't say
tired
that
many
to
days from
me.
working all the time. And not really. I mean, you know what? The business has its challenges all the time, and as things evolve, there's new challenges come up. But I just look at it as it's an adventure. It's a challenge. You got to figure it out and move on to the next thing. And I'm doing home staging now. I'm helping a couple of Major League Baseball players, and they're decorating their houses because they're out of town. So I'm getting into different facets of it, and I get bored like doing the same thing over and over and like staying in one thing. So I've got a staging phase of the business, and so I start dabbling all of it because I have to stay busy or I go crazy.
But it sounds fun. It's good to stay busy, especially if
fun.
it's something that you're excited about.
Yeah, and that you enjoy.
Right. So you did such a good job of describing the area, and the Blue Ridge is a much bigger area than your Blue Ridge town. Do you sell houses further away than the Blue Ridge town, like outlying areas as well?
I do. Yeah. So I really covered the entire North Georgia region. In a market like this, it's hard to just do, like the town of Blue Ridge, because, 15 minutes to one way or the other is the next town. And, I got a lot of family in both of those places. And so I do a lot in like the Blairsville, Ellijay, Blue Ridge, Hiwassee, Young Harris, and I focus primarily on a lot of the lake properties, which is Lake Blue Ridge, Lake Chattooga, and Lake Notley are the 3 primary lakes. So it encompasses about 6 counties. Sometimes in showing property, we'll travel 300 miles maybe if we're looking all day, when there was that much inventory on the market. So it's a big coverage area. And it's funny because agents that I've represented most of the top agents out of Atlanta and their second homes up here. And after the end of the day, they're usually like, you know what, Nathan, you work hard for your money, and y'all do more mileage than anybody I've ever seen. Like, you don't even have to pay me a referral fee. Y'all work hard. Like, I just want you to keep it. So they're cute about it. And I say, you know what? I appreciate you acknowledging, because we do. I mean, we do put a lot of miles in some days just to cover all the territory to get them to see the properties.
Right. Yeah, but it must
So,
be
yeah.
peaceful traveling through all that beauty.
It is. It is. And you know what? I try not to take it for granted. As I'm getting older, I don't. But there is some beautiful scenery here.
Oh, it sounds like it. Now, are there lakefront properties available?
There are. Yeah, so there's not a lot of just vacant lots left. A lot of the properties have been built on, and the North Georgia lakes, the nice thing about them is they're TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, actually, you know, owns below the contour lines, and the majority of the lakes are all national forest. So the property is very limited on the lake, which makes it in high demand, but it also makes it very pristine, very beautiful. I mean, you know, growing up, they always said that, you know, you could literally drink water out of the lakes, that the water's so clean. I don't know that I would advise that, and I don't do it, but it is still very clean compared to most places. But yeah, there are lake properties. I mean, you know, lake properties on Blue Ridge and Chattooga start at, for just a lot, you know, million and a half right now, and there's some quite impressive homes on these lakes now. I mean, there's some monstrosities, and some that look like castles that are made out of logs. And I mean, you wouldn't even believe some of these houses that are on the lake. And so yeah, it's beautiful, and people take a lot of pride in their houses here, and especially, you know, if it's their vacation home, they're coming here to enjoy it. So, you know, we see like helipads that, you know, retract into the mountains, and, you know, we'll have somebody that has a helipad. We had one that had a helipad right next to the lake where they landed. So it's interesting sometimes. Yeah.
That sounds very interesting. Now, did you say some of this property, they're on national forest land, but
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can still buy it?
Well, no, you can't buy the national forest land, but the lake is a high percentage of national forest. So like Blue Ridge Lake, over half of the land is national forest. So what land, pretty much most of the private land has been bought, and it's just resales. So there's not a lot of land left to be bought on these lakes. Like now people are buying houses, tearing them down, rebuilding, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have made it sound so wonderful. Seriously, I'm going
just
to
gotta
be
come
coming
visit.
there soon. I'm definitely going to come visit. So I'd like you to share your contact information in case anyone else is like me, wants to talk to you, wants to learn about property that sounds so beautiful, wants to see the area.
I would love that.
How would they get a hold of you?
My website is nathanfitts.com, and that's FITTS. My email is very, very easy, very original. It's nathan@nathanfitts.com. And then a best contact number for me is 706 area code 455-9968.
Well, thank you so much. And
You're
thank
welcome.
you for being on Icons of Real Estate. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
All right. Bye-bye
All
now.
right. Bye-bye.